Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 4 of B-Road Ballers, the review series for the hot hatches of Gran Turismo 6. And in this episode we're featuring one of the lesser used hot hatches. And as far as hot hatches go, it is quite an understated car. Obviously it's bright yellow, but you can paint it in any normal colour like green or silver or black, and it just blends in. It doesn't look anything special. It is, of course, the 2002 Audi S3, which was actually Audi's first mainstream production hot hatch. And for their first effort, not surprisingly from Audi, but for their first effort, it was a really good car, and still is a really good car. Hugely popular in real life, especially for tuning, and despite having a significantly smaller engine than many of the other hot hatches on the game, it still has very good performance. It's powered by a 1.8 litre turbo. It's all-wheel drive, not surprisingly for an Audi. But despite having a small capacity engine and all-wheel drive, which sounds like a bad combination, underpowered and overweight, it's actually the opposite. It produces a great amount of power and it's surprisingly light. It only weighs around 50 kilos more than the Alfa Romeo 147 GTA, and that car's front-wheel drive. And again, to keep the comparison against the Alfa Romeo GTA, the Alfa Romeo has a 3.2 litre engine that produces 414 horsepower. Now this Audi also produces 414 horsepower, but from a 1.8 litre. Now obviously the Alfa Romeo was naturally aspirated, whereas this is turbo, but still a very impressive power output for a 1.8 straight 4. As far as torque, it puts out 332 pound-feet, which is pretty decent. Not class-leading, but decent. And it weighs in at, as we said, 50 kilos more than the Alfa Romeo, which is 1,163 kilos. Now its power-to-weight ratio is pretty good. Again, not class-leading, but respectable, at 356 horsepower per tonne. And fully tuned, it sits at 517 pp, which is lower than something like the Ford Focus RS, but around the similar level to the Alfa Romeo and also cars like the Lancia Delta. So it's pretty well placed pp wise, especially seeing as you have the advantage of all-wheel drive, whereas most hot hatches by far, the majority are front-wheel drive. That said, how does it drive? Because being an Audi, Audis are known, or modern Audis are known for being great drivers' cars with very good handling for the most part, plenty of grip from the Quattro system, etc. So how does this S3 handle? Well, pretty well overall. The handling is very smooth, very controlled. It doesn't really ever do anything to surprise you or make you annoyed with the car. It does what you want, when you want. Overall though, and not just with its handling, but with its overall performance, and even down to the look of the car, it's all a bit too restrained. Now in real life, obviously that's not an issue, because many people like restrained vehicles, because after all, if you have to use the car every day, you don't want it to be some crazy track day special that can't drive over a pothole. But on the game, that's not an issue. So having a car that's restrained never really gives any benefits, apart from perhaps for newer drivers, because they can't cope with more hardcore track cars. In the case of this car, it is fast, and it does handle very well. There's plenty of grip, the brakes are perfectly good, and it's a nice overall experience to drive the car. But like with the Alfa Romeo, it's not quite class-leading at anything. And not only that, the things that it is good at, which is pretty much everything, are kind of subdued. It feels almost too held back. Like the car could be amazing, but it just feels too sensible. Now on the game, obviously tuning can adjust that, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do to change the innate character of a car. And in the case of this car, it does have quite a restrained, almost Q car kind of approach to the hot hatch market. Even visually, as we said earlier on in the video, it's, as far as hot hatches go, very understated. Most of them are very shouty, and if you look at this car, apart from the yellow paint, most people wouldn't even recognise it as a sporty version if they saw one on the road. It just looks like another A3 with dark bits on the bumpers. It doesn't look like a hot hatch. The only people who know that it's a hot hatch are enthusiasts, whereas if you see something like a Focus RS or a Golf R32 on the street, you can see that it is a hot hatch by the size of the exhausts, the shape of the bodywork, the air intakes, all that kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying that I prefer that to the Audi, it's just something to bear in mind. It is a very restrained car at everything it does. It's, to be cliched, it is very German. Now, it is a good car. It's a 41,000 credit vehicle, so value for money is very good, and overall as a track machine it will serve you well. Just don't expect it to be the most amazing thing to drive. So a good car overall, but not necessarily the kind of car that I would pull out if I was looking for a hot hatch to race with or just to have fun with. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.